Hello and welcome to Accelerate. I am Matt Stone. This is the podcast where we encourage and inspire CEOs, founders, and visionaries on their big leap journeys. We talk about the stories and strategies that will help you accelerate toward your big leap destination with purpose, humility, an open mind, commitment to growth, and recognition that the way we get there is at least as important as where we end up. And I'm so delighted that you've tuned in today. And it is Monday, July 25th. Hope you all had great weekends wherever you are. I know I did. It was hot, but really, really great. Switched up our gym to a new gym. I'm really excited about it. And ate some really great homemade food. Tried out a new recipe for turkey burgers, actually. Seasoned them up, put some panko and an egg in them, and man, that was satisfying. So that I hadn't cooked before, and it was fun to do that. So yeah, trying some new things, feeling excited for today. And what's on my mind on Mondays often, and this Monday as well, is really how's my head? How am I mentally going into this week? You know when you get up on Monday and it's like, and you're feeling either. I mean, maybe you're excited. I hope so. Sometimes that's the way it is. Sometimes it takes me a little while to get my mind wrangled in the right mode. So I'm approaching things with the right perspective. And it leads me back to, thinking about big leap and acceleration, which is, speeding up, going faster towards my goal, whatever it is, big, medium, or small. It's getting free in my head. I need to be aware, and then I need to be mentally sound and not hung up. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, I have listed on my About section what I call the 5 rules of reinvention, because any kind of big leap requires sort of, at a minimum, a lot of small reinventions and multiple times over time. You got to change what you're doing. It doesn't work, you got to change it up again. So I call these the 5 rules of reinvention. These are absolutely the 5 key ingredients. And I'm not talking about your vision board and your SWOT analysis and your Gantt chart or whatever else you're using to track progress. Those are the kind of, frankly, the easy stuff. I'm talking about, let's go deeper, right? And the 5 rules, and I'm going to do a series on each of these 5. They're awareness, practicing self-awareness, messaging, the internal talk, specifically your internal PR department, support from others, practicing feedback, not just the feedback word, but not a throwaway, like practicing it. Feedback is a practice, and connection with heart. So what's coming up for me today is messaging. That Monday is messaging. And when I say messaging, what's the internal message? What is it that's playing in my head? Oh, this is going to be a tough week because. Really? Is it going to be a tough week? I mean, if you say it's going to be, if you indulge that thought, then it probably will be. So I don't mean being blind, but let me give you an example. Maybe you own a business and you've got an employee who, your top salesperson, and he's great. He brings in the money, but he's a total asshole. And I mean that in the clinical definition. There's a book called The No Asshole Rule. It's one of my favorites. And he's a textbook asshole. So he's toxic. So you're thinking, I can't fire him. He brings in all the money. That would be the kind of internal messaging. The big leap to grow your business may be getting rid of the asshole. But you can't see beyond it because in your mind, he brings in all the money, my accounts are going to leave, etc. What other idea might work better than that? How do you open your mind to other things? Maybe it's not firing somebody. Maybe it's hiring someone, letting go. You're a solopreneur. You own a small business. There's certain things that you've been doing forever. You want to scale, you want to grow, but you still handle you handle these small tasks or tasks that aren't really, you've been doing them forever. What are you going to let go of? But you say to yourself, maybe, I'm the only one who can do this well. How's that self-talk? If you're going to scale, that messaging has got to change. Otherwise, you won't change. I'll never forget, I went with a friend to Eddie Izzard, and he did a stand-up tour right before the pandemic, I think. It was a few years ago. In Tokyo, I got to see Eddie Izzard in Tokyo. We were like almost front row. And if you don't know who Eddie Izzard is, YouTube him. I mean, I'm not sure what pronouns Eddie's using these days. He's been a very creative soul, and he's brilliant, or they're brilliant. And in this show, he talked about his ego. And he starts off kind of talking about how important the ego is, and talking about how, as a performer, you need that ego to get up on stage and say, I'm great. I'm going to do great. I can do this. And he went on to talk about other things about ego, but I thought it was really just the brilliance of the way he captured the importance of ego. Ego kind of gets a bad rap. We need our ego. So it's just balancing it so that we're still in humility, but also we have confidence and an open mind to change how we see ourselves. That messaging is so, so critical. We decide how far we can go before we ever leave. So I guess the question is, what's the new idea that you're willing to entertain? Even if you don't believe it, even if you absolutely believe you're the only one on your team that can do X, Y, and Z, you don't want to let go of it. What is the new idea? Maybe the new idea is, I can let go of this, or someone else is out there who can do this as well as I can, or someone else might find a better approach than I even do it. Whatever that idea is, a Monday is a perfect time to reframe that internal messaging that's limiting. And it doesn't have to be limiting in a horribly toxic way. It just has to not allow you to move forward, to accelerate toward the future that you really want, which may be more freedom, a bigger organization, smaller organization, a friendlier team, a happier team, whatever that is for you, or a new career. Right? I've always been in this industry. No one will hire me if I'm not in this industry. You know what? I helped a CEO move from one industry to a completely different industry. I've seen it done. And now he's the CEO in the hospitality industry. So it can be done. People are doing it. You can do it too. What is the messaging going on? Now, in order to know what the messaging is, you have to be self-aware, and that's why self-awareness is number one in the 5 rules of reinvention. You've got to practice self-awareness. Otherwise, you have no clue what you're actually thinking anyway. All right, so I'm going to try and reset a few thoughts that I have as the week kicks off, and I am off to Washington, D.C. in a couple of hours. We are doing some pretty amazing work at the Pentagon for my company, Behavioral OS. On the individual level, I work with CEOs, founders, and visionaries, and my organization, we work with teams, and we help them reinvent the way they communicate and reinvent the way they see themselves so they can break through the friction that's holding them back. So it's acceleration all the way around and breakthrough. I hope you have a fantastic breakthrough this week. And again, as always, check me out on Twitter. I'm starting to do a little more on Twitter, at MattStoneCO, at MattStoneCO on Twitter. Also at the website, mattstone.co, where we have our readiness assessment for those big leap ponderers out there. You're starting to get a little uncomfortable with status quo. See how ready you are internally. Take the readiness assessment. And it's a great way to start that thought process and help you make a decision. So listen, have a great week. Stay cool, stay hydrated. Thanks, as always, for listening. And we will catch you from Washington, D.C. tomorrow.